For that waterfront race at Labour weekend, Bob Parker caught up with the man known to motor racing fans as Peter Perfect.
Television New Zealand, in association with Mobile, presents this profile of Peter Brock.
Question is, what am I doing with my Holdens? Yes, the entire team is up for sale, and it can either be broken up or sold as a total racing team.
My reasons for racing are a lot different than what people would imagine. I not go out racing at all because I want to win or want to satisfy my own ego. Hell, I've won enough races to know exactly where I sit on this planet.
And wherever that is, it's not on the fence. So what drives a man like Peter Brock? And why is it that this year, more than any other, he's been in the headlines not as a winner, but as a person who had bitten the hand that seemingly fed him? The famous energy polarizer, the break with General Motors Holdens, all of these events have led to more media speculation about what he does off the track than what he does on it.
We were put on the back foot some time ago and having to stand back and say, no, we're not crazy, we don't live this absurd lifestyle. And having to deny all these crazy accusations.
What sort of accusations?
Well, that we were mad, that we lived an alternate lifestyle, that we slept under pyramids, that we wore orange robes.
That, bother with them personally.
They're outrageous. I mean, to me, they are too ready to judge, to need to put people in boxes. And I wouldn't like to think that the world has got to a stage where people are not entitled to their own personal beliefs.
But Peter and Bev Brock and the Holden dealer team haven't come to the Kiwi capital to get away from the dogged attention of the Aussie media. Unlike Frank Sinatra, they'll go back, but not until this race has run its course. The race weekend lifts off after a week in which the world stock market took its biggest drop since the Great Depression. But if local brokers were perched on window ledges thinking of ending it all, nobody noticed. All eyes were down on the Wellington streets, or more precisely 3.2 kilometres of them closed off for the occasion of the running of the Nissan Mobile 500. It's a circuit that's unique and challenging.
Rough, tough, unpredictable. It's a terrain that's just happened rather than being planned, so it isn't your normal Formula One, super smooth, super safe circuit. It's got a lot of inbuilt difficulties, but I like adversity. I think it adds to the degree of difficulty, adds to the challenge of it all, and it'll catch a lot of people out.
An American general once said, "Put your trust in God, but keep your powder dry." And in the practice day drizzle, a little CRC is just what this general ordered. And after all, practice makes perfect. They've got a sticking throttle and a wet track, but with the right tyres, this man is no snail in the wet. describe this place as the Monaco of the South. After all, Monaco has a prince reigning over it, and Wellington has, well, just rain over it. The conditions are a little depressing and the problems niggling ones, but Brock's brightly philosophical about the whole thing.
Today we can't prove a damn thing out on the track. It's a test day, and it's taken us an hour and a half of fiddling to unravel this problem of a sticky throttle. And yet it's not in a qualifying session, it's just in a test session. So I think the guys can sit back and rub their hands together and say, gee, I was fortunate the way the sort of cards fell in that little sequence, because we didn't miss a damn thing.
And while the guys take a break, the boss is away and doing a little PR, comparing notes with the opposition. Throughout the race weekend, Peter hinted that big news was in the air. With a bit of hindsight, his meetings with the BMW team take on a new meaning. There are times when some inside knowledge can be worth its weight in gold. Back out on the track again, and the drizzle has disappeared, leaving the late afternoon humid, but the track dry. The team are itching to get on with testing and rehearsing the vital drills of pit stops and stopwatch changes of tyres and drivers. Brock is sharing the race with regular co-driver Dave Parsons. With a single-minded approach and military discipline of his race team, it's easy to forget that despite their dedication to the success of the Brock Commodore, Brock and General Motors Holdens have only recently gone through one of the biggest bust-ups in Australian automotive history. From Brock's point of view, it's the down-under version of David and Goliath.
I think the truth of the matter is that it was the tail wagging the dog. And I think my aspirations weren't quite what they thought they should have been. So the parting of the way, I think, was quite inevitable when you look at it that way.
Did people expect you to fail at that
yes.
point?
Yes, I've got no doubt that most of the people who'd left were told, A, I would not have a racing team within a week, B, the business was being folded up, and C, my business adversaries were phoning all of my suppliers and sponsors and what have you, saying Brock is in liquidation. As far as I was concerned, I thought, hey, they've picked on the wrong bloke here. I'm digging my heels right in right now. I'm a pretty determined sort of joker. I'm not going to back off. And I haven't, and I think a lot of people have been surprised by the fact that we've weathered the storm and succeeded.
Driving a car that in pure performance terms is down on the high-tech Europeans is certainly a disadvantage. Brock had seen the writing was on the wall, but long-distance racing is his forte, and he considers plenty of other factors will come into play.
One of the great challenges about motor racing is that it's this discipline of stopping yourself from being impulsive, from making an angry, wrong decision, from trying to remain calm and in control of what is happening within your environment. Reading the road signals, looking at that spot of oil on the road or a bit of a cloud in the horizon or a sprinkling of rain on the windscreen, and trying to figure out if that means you've got to back off just that little bit, or does it give you an advantage on the other driver because he's backed off a little bit.
And nowhere has that finely honed line between success and failure been more delicately trod than at Bathurst 87. The race has a unique place in the folklore of Australian driving and in the ethos of Peter Brock. Without the backing of Holden, there were those that reckoned he was a spent force. But at Bathurst, the force was with Brock as he drove the Doomsayers into the ground with a breathtaking but controlled performance. It was a sign to anyone who cared that they turned their back on this man at their own risk.
And towards the end of the race, I was driving around in the wet, thoroughly enjoying myself, really throwing the car around. And I came into the pits about 5 or 6 laps from the end, and people said to me, gee, you fitted those slick tyres on a little bit prematurely, because I remember the television commentator saying, there goes Brock on a set of slicks and he's sliding out there, he's really gummed the car out of pit lane and what have you. And I was trying to get the tyres warm, of course. And it was slippery for a few laps. And afterwards there was a bit of criticism. People said, well, Peter, you know, we think you made a bit of an error there, maybe you put on those slicks a little bit too early. I thought, well, maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but my feeling was that the other tyres wouldn't take too much. So I said to the Bridgestone engineers, look, how are those tyres that I took off just before the end of the race at Bathurst? He said, oh, the right-hand rear tyre was chunked up everywhere. he said it wouldn't have lasted too much longer. And that was the sensation I had from the cockpit. That's why I changed tyres. So I think it's pretty fair to sort of listen to that knowledge you all have that something isn't quite right. That's the way I work it.
40,000 Ks without a change. Mobil 1, the engine lubricant for New Zealand.
"7 a.m. and while the Euros are still chewing their croissants, the Aussies are down at the pits, setting up and getting down to the business at hand. You wonder what goes through the minds of the team at a time like this. Outwardly, everyone's relaxed and confident. It's like the calm before the storm. There's much more than ego at stake. This is a business and a future. The Sierra has pole position, a place Brock has started from many times before, but not today.
Pole position is very much an ego thing. It doesn't mean much because after 15 minutes, who cares? It does give you some value for your sponsors and it may ease your way through the traffic early on. But at the end of the day, who remembers that you're on the third row of the grid for the first, when they drop the flag and for the first 3 or 4 laps you're fourth or fifth? It just doesn't matter if you're leading the race in the last hour.
Brock's approach is, of course, based on more than 20 years hands-on experience that began in a car like this.
Bring back a few memories. Of England. What a fine British automobile, eh? Look at the lines. I wouldn't mind, would I? Can I? Hey, just it. Hang on. Come on, where's the helmet? Did I used to race one of these? Here we go. It's all there.
Peter, it all started in an A30, didn't it?
It did. And I mean, I can't believe how small it is now. I mean, it's just tiny, isn't it? Well, I mean, at the time, it seemed perfectly normal to be racing a car that appeared that wide, and there's the window, and this is, I felt perfectly at home in the thing. Now you hop in and think, did I really race this car? And I mean, I still feel like a kid. It's not as if I'm feeling as if I've time for reminiscing in life. It's quite a shock, actually. Well, there we are. There's 1988 for us.
What's it like being passed on the track, Peter?
Well, here's this car that's. We're making a bit of speed for this A30 at the moment. That Nissan which went past us, and it just shows how far we came the last 20 or 30 odd years.
Indeed, we have come a long way from dirt tracks and downdrafts to turbochargers and, well, say no more. 3 humid minutes away from race start, enough to make the sponsors rattle their ice cubes and the fans to reach for their 6-packs. But it's inside 05 that the heat is really on.
I think the waiting before a race begins is probably the most nerve-wracking. Often you might pick out a face in the crowd and have a bit of a smile and try and do something to occupy your mind and try to keep in a reasonable frame of mind. At other times when you're sitting there waiting and you're getting a bit bored, you'll try not to think about what the opposition might be doing, or the main thing is to keep cool.
There's a second Brock Holden dealer team Commodore on the Nissan Mobil. It's to be driven by Kiwi David Oxton and Channel 7's commentator and rising race star Neil Crompton, a man who's long observed and more recently worked alongside Peter Brock.
Well, there's absolutely no doubting of the genius of the man. If you had to really try and summarise Peter's ability, I think it's his determination. The guy is determined beyond all belief, and even when he's absolutely been stood on and he's as low as you can go, he bounces back with incredible strength. And take, for example, the James Hardy 1000 in the closing laps. No grip, a cold track, raining, the verges were muddy and wet. Unbelievable, and the guy was flinging the car around as though it was a dry race. Incredible.
But in only 10 seconds, the best of words and intentions won't count anymore. Round 10 of the World Touring Car Championship is about to rattle the windows on Wellington's waterfront, but apparently not the man in 05.
Well, a lot of it's a mind game. It's very much a discipline. And people might think that motor racing is an undisciplined sport, but when you sit back and analyse it, of course the racing driver has to exercise the ultimate disciplines, because after all, your fate to a large extent is in your own hands. It's up to you to put the brakes on as you come to a corner, to drive through there and to do it all correctly if you want to succeed. You go too fast, you're not successful because you hurt the machinery or you crash or something like that. You go too slow, you don't win. So it's very much a mind over matter to figure out just how fast is fast enough.
And that's part of the answer to the question of what drives Peter Brock. The ultimate challenge is inside, not out on the track. It's business, not brio. Parsons takes the wheel, and Brock takes a breather from the car, but not from the race. Teammate Oxton passes on the news that the second race car has had a tangle on the track and has been flagged into the pits. It's an opportunity to top up the tanks, put on a fresh set of tyres, and for the crew to perform a panel beater's two-step on the air dam. The team computer has a status report on the race so far.
Long way to go. I think it'd be fair to say that we're on schedule. I reckon we lap about 1:34. Maybe we lost about 40 seconds, and that's on our schedule. But you know, if you take what the car can actually deliver, it's about it.
In a world where often the most volatile thing is in the cockpit, not the fuel tank, it's been a controlled display by Brock. At the end of the race, with his second car out with a broken rear suspension and in a machine that wasn't expected to top the high-tech Eggenberger Sierras or the BMWs, he takes his last major drive in a Commodore with the famous number 5 and finishes in 5th place. For the crew, it was the end of just another race. Remembered later not for the setting or the placing of the car, but as the end of an era for the Holden dealer team. Brock knew it then. It wasn't giving much away.
Well, that was about as flat out as you could get, I think, with the car. I don't think there's really much in it. It was a good day's work, actually. Let's sum it up. That was just absolutely, everything went pretty well according to plan.
A long, cool drink.
Indeed.
Undressed by the media in '87, Brock will be appearing in new clothes in '88. But the last year of anything has sharpened his perception of who he is and where he's going.
Nearly everyone has some sort of fear. They get a little bit concerned about what others are thinking about them or what they should be allowed to think. In other words, is it okay to accept something or to say that's all right? Not too many people have the courage to sort of say, well, that's what I believe in, I'm just going to go for it.
The profile of Peter Brock was presented in association with Mobil.
A very determined man is Peter Brock, and his recent split with Holden has been big news across the Tasman, signing that agreement to race BMWs for 2 years and severing his association with Holden that goes back some 15 years.